So I wasn't going to be that. Like, I was just like, I was absolutely determined that we are not going to be that statistic. It's not going to happen to us.
Can we agree that leadership isn't based on title or position? I have created this podcast to talk to everyday people who lead in extraordinary ways in their everyday lives, both professionally and personally, in the hope it will inspire everyday people like you and me to realize we are everyday leaders. Welcome to Everyday Leadership. On today's episode of Everyday Leadership, I have the pleasure of talking to Sade Salami. When I first had the idea of creating a podcast, she was the first one I reached out to. And even though she hates being in front of the camera and being interviewed, she said yes. And we have a great conversation today as we talk about the difference between being a real entrepreneur and a fake entrepreneur. We talk about learning to trust your gut. We talk about the fact that CVs are a waste of time. We talk about building character in the next generation and overcoming different things like she's dyslexic, yet she runs 3 companies. Yeah, I said 3. She's the founder of Fresh Strawberries, which is an events company. They're the in-house Google vendor. So if you've ever been to any events at Google or YouTube in London, they're the ones behind that. And they have other clients such as My United, DeepMind, Grazia. She's also a co-founder of Everyday Day, a clothing brand, and Natural Star Stories. So she knows what she's talking about when it comes to running multiple businesses. Today's is a value-packed episode as always. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So today I've got Sade Salami with us.
Hello.
I'm excited to do this because she's normally behind the scenes. You don't ever get to see her. So today I get to ask and find a bit more about her. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
First off, who is Sade? People want to know.
I don't even know how to answer that question. I'm just, a young lady from South London that's trying a thing.
You're trying a number of things. So it's not just one thing. You're doing a number of different things, though.
Yeah, I guess. I've been, I don't even know what to call myself really, because I used to think, I'm an entrepreneur, but I kind of see myself more as like maybe a business owner. I have a main business called Fresh Strawberry, which is event management. And I have like a clothing line, which I run with my niece and nephew, called Everyday Friday. And I've had like various other projects over the years as well, kind of thing. So yeah,
It's quite a few little things. Mm-hmm. So with all the few little things that you're currently doing right now, how do you find time? Do you find time for yourself? How do you lead yourself?
I think that when you're, you know what? I feel like entrepreneur types are very unique. In the sense, and I mean real ones.
Oh, okay. We've got a distinction there.
I think I think entrepreneurship has become very fashionable,
right,
especially in the last couple of years. And I think it's really cool now to be seen as like busy doing all these little things. But a lot of people, not to knock them or anything like that, are kind of busy doing nothing. Or, have like hours and hours to respond to WhatsApp chats and not actually doing any work. Do you know what I mean? Or posting on Insta or whatever. And I'm not against that at all, but I just think like it's very easy to kind of like put yourself in that category without having to show your work, basically.
So the substance behind it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, so with that kind of like category, I think that for someone like myself, it's very easy to, I guess, in a sense, lead myself because it's my nature. It's my absolute nature. It's not something that's constructed or I've been taught in a class or anything like that, or I've, copied tricks off YouTube. It's not that, do you know what I mean? It's just my very nature. So yes, exactly. So I find it quite easy. Like sometimes I would say there's not even like much distinction between me, running a business and just being, you know, kind of thing. Like it's all in one. And I do think like sometimes there is this whole negative stance that's seen with that. You know, people, you're talking about like work-life balance and everything like that. And it's not very popular, but I think it's very difficult to, I think it's ideology. It's an ideology that to have a perfect work-life balance when you're an entrepreneur, because it's virtually impossible. And to kind of put that pressure on people to have that also while trying to achieve something, I think is a bit damaging, to be honest.
So you don't have that pressure on yourself. You don't believe in the work-life balance. It's about focusing on one thing at that point in time and trying to do the best, or?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. And also it depends how much I've got on at one particular time. I do think over the years, I've learned to really trust my instincts and, you know, listen to my body, or do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. So I know when to, okay, I need to take a break now. Or do you know what I mean? I need to, you know, I'm juggling too many things. I need to drop one of them, kind of thing. So, and that has taken some time, but I don't know of any entrepreneur or successful business person who hasn't grinded for a good number of years before they've made it. I don't know any of them, to be honest.
How many years have you been grinding for?
God, I'm not even good at math. So Fresh Strawberry was registered in 2006. Yeah, so quite a while now in terms of that business. But, you know, I was always doing things before that, but that's like my first official, this is serious. Like,
you got a very high level of self-awareness just based on what you just talked about right there. So how did you develop that?
These are interesting questions. How do I, you know, it's very difficult. I don't know. I think it's probably to do with DNA, upbringing. You know, I'm not going to go into it, but it was pretty tough. So I think when you, as a child, deal with difficult situations, you become able to I think it's easier maybe to read people and to understand yourself a little bit, kind of thing, and reflect on situations sometimes, I think. And then, just like entrepreneurship can be quite lonely, right? Do you know what I mean?
Very.
So
yeah, definitely.
So there's not always many people to talk to. So you have to do your kind of conversations with yourself sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you really have to, you know, when you're the person in charge, you have to make some very tough decisions. So I think you have to trust your gut, which I think feeds into that whole self-awareness thing. So it's just like, what am I thinking right now? Like, what do I actually truly believe? Like, what is my feeling on this? And that's I don't even know how to describe it properly, but it's that inner voice.
Has that voice ever been wrong?
Oh, all the time. All the time. Oh, no, well, actually, I wouldn't even say that. I would be saying, like, maybe I want to do something for the reasons of ego and not necessarily what's best for the business. Do you know what I mean? Or what's best for me at certain times, or, you know, or like over the years, I've had, I've actually worked with a lot of friends over the years, which people will say don't do, but I think it's fine. Like, and why wouldn't you want to be on this journey with your friends? Do you know what I mean? So sometimes, you know, making those decisions or making decisions based on friendship rather than what's best for the business and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's not necessarily wrong, but it can be. You really have to be objective, like kind of constantly. I don't know how to describe, but it is a constant thing. It is a constant thing.
You mentioned that the real startups, it's hard work, it's ethic, it's self-awareness.
Yeah.
What else would you say kind of differentiates the real business-like minded people to what you see nowadays? Especially, like I said at the start, you're not very visible.
No.
And a lot of times nowadays, it's all about see me, post me, and you're not. And you're doing a lot of things. We're going to delve into what you're doing properly, but you're doing a lot of things and you're completely countercultural. And yet you're grinding behind the scenes. So why is it that you're like that? Why do you approach it like that?
I'm hiding from HMRC. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh gosh. Again, it's like this. There's so many ways I can answer that. I think, like, on one side, I think I'm naturally quite shy, to be honest. Like, I think business has helped me come out of that shell, really. But naturally, I'm an introvert. I am naturally an introvert, and I'm okay with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's who I am. Do you know what I mean? And stuff. And so there's that side of things. There is, and then there's also kind of a layer of protection, actually. Do you know what I mean? Because I think, again, like when you're the boss, when you're the person in charge, you become that focal point of where people can, almost like, we do have like quite a blame culture. So if something does go wrong and whatever kind of thing. So it's just kind of, it is a kind of way of, it is kind of like to protect myself as well. Do you know what I mean? Also, sometimes it's better to have an air of mystery about you.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So there's that.
Old school.
Yeah. Don't give it all out. But I do love social media. I do like it as a medium. And I think, and also as well, to actually, like, just even practical stuff, like to post consistently every day, that's work. It's time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like to prioritize that, oh my God, like that would, I don't know how I'd do that. I actually don't have enough time for that right now. And I'm not even sure. I would want anything I shared to either be meaningful. I want it to be meaningful to me or can impact other people, which maybe is thinking too deeply about it. I don't know.
I don't think it is, though. And the reason why I say I don't think it is even when I listen to you talk, everything that you do has to have meaning.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like, okay, I'm doing this business. It has to have a meaning behind it. If I'm posting something and spending the time, it has to have meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Which I think is what has actually set you apart and helped you have that longevity. Because a lot of times if it's all about me and bringing attention to me and there's no value behind it, then it's going to come and go. Yeah. But if it's more about the long-term distance, which is what you're doing, you're in it for the long haul, then that's why it's like, if I'm going to do that, it needs to be worth something.
Yeah.
Or even helping people out. That's the reason why I'm putting that out.
Right. Do you know what I mean? And value comes in different forms, right? So there are times where I'm just like, it'd be cool to be like a fashion person, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because I get value from seeing like girls on Insta and their outfits and everything like that. Like, I love that. Do you know what I mean? But it's just not, that's just not my calling, Yeah. It just really isn't. But so I think I'm much more comfortable behind the scenes. Right. There is also there is a control thing there as well, kind of thing that, it is. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but yeah, I am very much aware of the power of social media and how it can be used negatively and all that kind of stuff. So what I share, and also just in kind of like practicality. So I probably, to kind of give an example, but I'm more likely to do Insta stories than posts on, do you know what I mean? Because posts are there for ages. do you know what I mean? And who goes through their posts and edits them afterwards? Do you know what I mean? Okay, no one does that. Do you know what I mean? So Insta stories, I think, is more psychologically, that's where I'm at. Do you know what I mean? Okay, you can see this little bit and then it's gone. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of, where I am.
And how does your personality flow into how you lead your company? You have how many people working for you?
So at the moment, since I last spoke to you, we've gone up. So we've got 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's
My little
in a
team.
company, that's really key. That's a small number of teams. So
Yep.
everything that you guys do obviously flows into one another. So how does your management style flow through from your personality to your companies?
Yeah. I'm much more laid back than I was.
Okay.
I really am. I kind of, anyone I hire, I believe they can do the job. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I believe they can do probably more than the job. Do you know what I mean?
Is that based on CV, experience, or your instinct, or
mainly instinct? Okay. I don't really like CVs. Okay. It's a waste of time. And the whole interviewing process is so alien and strange. Anyway, do you know what I mean?
So how do you interview?
I do use the traditional processes, but I don't like them, and I don't actually think it gives you a real idea of like who someone is and whether they're going to be a good fit. So again, that kind of goes back to like my gut instinct. Like I really have to tune into that and read what is being presented to me, because it's all kind of very constructed, isn't it? Like, so you never really see a true person in an interview, or definitely not on their CV at all. But I do like to, I like to have a conversation. Do you know what I mean? So, actually, no, I can't say. Like, I was thinking, like, how do I do it? But sometimes I don't even look at the CV, to be honest. Okay, I might get someone, when I had a bigger team and I had like someone who done, specifically done HR, they would kind of go for the CVs, and I would do second round of interviews. I wouldn't do first, or do second round of interviews, and then maybe third. But I'm all about the conversation and like trying to see what they're about in those few minutes. If I'm not sure, then I wouldn't speak to them again, and that sort of thing. But yeah.
What do you think is important key qualities to get, especially when you're building that team on a start?
Oh, you need, obviously, goes without saying, but hardworking. You do need hardworking people. And under that, smart working people. So people aren't, do you know what I mean? Going to waste time, ponder too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, make mistakes. I think the qualities, not everyone, sorry, I should say that. Everyone does make mistakes. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But why I'm saying that is because especially when you're a small business and cash flow is limited, if someone makes a mistake that involves a financial thing, that's a big freaking deal. Do you know what I mean? So you do need to be mindful of that when you're building your team. I think you have to have people who, depending on the type of business that you have. I'm in the service industry primarily. So you have to be people who understand customer service, who take responsibility for their work and are accountable for it, who are flexible with timings and stuff, who knows how to follow systems and stick to them and understand the importance of, data, all of that stuff. Those are the kind of things that I look for practically. Not scared of technology. do you know what I mean? That's the kind of thing. Obviously, like, to have good personality and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what I generally kind of look for.
How do you develop trust in that team?
Wow. How do you develop trust? I think in the beginning, you just have to give it. I think you just have to give it, and then it's almost like you work out, what can I trust this person to do? Do you know what I mean? Or what can I trust them for? Not to say it kind of chip, but only over time are you going to see like what are the best skills? What are the best, like where do they flourish? And that sort of thing. It's time that's going to show you that. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's just making those mental notes that, okay, for example, Tunde is doing this piece of work, but, you know, he's doing these pieces of work, but he's never meeting deadlines. Do you know what I mean? Do you kind of like, are you making that mental note? Do you know what I mean? Are you adjusting? Are you kind of giving him extra time? Are you kind of, do you know what I mean? Like there's, like once you know who your staff member is, you can adjust. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And like everyone's different. And I think like from being a person with dyslexia, like I've had to make things work for me. So I just apply that theory to anyone that works for me basically. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta be flexible.
So your last name means peace.
It does.
So
it actually
do you have a peaceful presence when you're in the office when things are going on? Peaceful. Or do you know what?
I don't think people would describe me as peaceful. No. I am a bit of a peacemaker though. If there's issues,
you're the one.
I'm the person that want to try and resolve things, yeah, for sure. But no, I'm probably more high energy, like let's go, let's do this, okay, let's solve this problem, what we do next, right, I've got this idea, let's do this, let's try this. I'm that kind of person, yeah.
When you first started out, you started at Screen Nation, is that correct?
Oh my God, yeah. Okay. That's what you done your research.
You know, you have to look into and see what's going on.
Yeah, I did. Film and Television Awards.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned once before, not in this interview, but you talked about the importance of working in that hub that you worked with and you had mentors around you that helped you.
Yeah.
So would you say that is critical for people coming up, is to get mentors, and then how do you obviously pay that back as well?
You know what? I wouldn't say, let me even just, so in this place that I worked for Screen Nation Film and Television Awards. It's basically the Black BAFTAs. I think it's still going today. It was kind of run by this guy called Charles Thompson. I think he's got MBE now. And in this space, it had a hub of different companies as well. So there was one called, I can't even remember now, Mobs Video, which was like early YouTube kind of platform. There was Mobs Africa, which is like the African version of that. There was a sales company as well. Can't even remember the name of that now. And then these were all kind of like partnership companies with a guy called Alexandria Mosu, who, you know, is a legend kind of thing. He's a really, really cool guy. And he had, you know, mind of an entrepreneur. And he does amazing things now, basically. But and he has been doing for a long time. So basically, I was in this hub with all these different businesses operating. And I was just like a sponge. I was basically just like a sponge and just like listening and observing and that sort of thing. I wouldn't say anyone was particularly my mentor. Okay. I wouldn't say that. But I did I was very aware of like, this is something special and I would benefit from learning. I really did take that approach. And back then I think I started like when I was like 25, right? So I was quite old in the industry, if you think about it. Like, yeah.
25?
At 25, that was like my first gig. Like, that was my first like big gig. Wow. Like nowadays, like I see, you know, I'm just going from what I see. And I see young people as young as 19. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah, exactly, kind of thing. So it's just like who are like, they know what they want to do. They're trying to get in the industry. They just want experience and that sort of thing. So for me, and I, you know, I don't know. Everyone in my family, we look quite young anyway. So I don't think people knew how old I was, if that makes sense. You know, black don't crack. It doesn't really. But I was a bit older, than most people trying to make it at that time kind of feel, or at least having their first step in, right? Do you know what I mean? So, but I was just humble to it. Like, I was just like, you know what, this is, I never dreamed. I remember being in the interview and not really knowing what it was about in the beginning, and halfway through, I was just like, oh my God, I really want this job. Like, do you know what I mean? So, yeah. It's interesting.
You're a very, what's the right word to use? I'm going to try and see if it works or not. You are very open to that. and you get people who say, I want to plan and get that plan right and then execute, which sometimes leads to procrastination. So what advice would you give to people to try and combat that? Because obviously you've done different things, you've tried and failed in certain things. We're going to touch on that shortly. Yeah. But how would you advise people to not? Planning is great. Yeah. But execution is the key. Yeah. So how do you move forward?
Just do it. You just literally have to do it. You kind of just have to, whatever that voice is telling you to, oh no, you need another iteration of this plan or whatever, you just have to ignore that and just because if you don't have a finished product or you're not producing something, then it's not done. It's still just a plan.
You know, validates it as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you just have to. I know it sounds, but this is the thing. I'm a doer, basically. Right. I am. That is my natural. Yeah, that is definitely my natural state. So I don't really know anything different. You know, so sometimes, if and this does happen a lot, I have a plan in my head. And I'm just right, so I know the plan, it's there, and I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean? And I want everybody else on board. And it's just wait. We need to get it out of your head and put it on paper, see if it's actually going to work, see what we need to consider, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
In all the businesses you've had, how many of them have been successful?
Okay, God. How are you categorizing this though?
However you want to call yourself a business, that's complete. Business is making money out there.
Okay. Making money, as in I can employ people and one, I would say, yeah.
That didn't work out.
No, one that did work.
Did work
out. That is working.
And the rest of them.
Everything else is an experiment. That's
okay.
That's the way I see it. Everything else. But I mean, okay, do you know what I mean? I'm paying taxes, I'm paying, do you know what I mean? It's a fully fledged business. We're on company's house. It's not, it's not legit. I'm a business person, but you don't even have paperwork. Do you know what I mean? That's an idea. So.
What was the first one you ever had?
First one, I mean, if we're going back, I mean, my first business was doing hair.
Right.
That's because I can plait. And I used to, where I lived, there was a lot of guys, and that was, back in the day when everyone wanted K-Rows. Yeah. So I used to K-Row people's hair, basically. That was my first ever business, basically.
You've always had that spirit in you.
Yeah, I think so. I think I left home quite young. So I was 16 when I left home. And I needed to survive, really. So my dad was an entrepreneur as well. So he had a business. But I was so young, I didn't really know much about it. But I remember going to his offices. And knowing that, this is my dad. My dad owns this kind of thing. But in terms of, I kind of always knew two things actually. When we were kids, when I used to play with my sisters, we used to always have we used to play hotels or or fashion house. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So in the hotels, I was the hotel manager, and in the fashion house, I was I was the business person, do you know what I mean? So
the seeds were there.
Yeah. So
young.
Yeah, we did used to do that. And then it kind of just, and I think because being dyslexic as well, when I graduated, I was trying to get on graduate programs and that sort of thing, but I kept on failing at the after doing the test. Sometimes they do these tests. I don't know if they do that. And I put it down to me being dyslexic. So I always knew okay, this isn't going to work for me. This path isn't going to work for me. Plus I'm a bit anti-authority anyway.
You're a rebel.
So I was just I don't really fancy having a boss. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know how long I could do that for. So I kind of knew. And when it was kind of evident that we was going to do this thing, I jumped at the chance. I was yeah, we're going to do this. And we're, what's the stats now? I don't even know. It's 8 in 10 businesses fail within the
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really need to be.
Mhm.
And also, you mentioned that you're dyslexic, you had a tough upbringing, you left home when you were young and stuff like that. But yet, you never let that stop you, and you still had that determination and that drive, which is amazing. And it really is amazing, because especially
Thank you.
nowadays, any little thing that happens, people are like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm gonna deviate.
Mate, people are soft.
Ooh.
They are.
Ooh.
They are. I don't even care.
Ooh, okay.
They are, man. They're soft, man.
Why do you think that is?
Because we just live in this. We just live in this world now where, number one, people are so easily offended.
Yeah.
Everyone gets. I think I listen to Gary Vee a lot, and I'm always like, yes. What he's saying, but it's like everyone gets a trophy for winning. No, I mean for running, not win. Do you know what I mean? Like, the idea of competition is seen as a negative thing. It's just like we've kind of put everybody in cotton wool, just like, oh my God, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. No, not everyone's amazing. That's not. It's just not true. Do you know what I mean? It really isn't, and I think it's. Without sounding like a proper old person, I think it's going to be the downfall of our society, actually.
Well,
Seriously, I just don't think it's very positive. I really, really don't. I don't. I think you need to be honest with people. No, not everyone. Not to kind of like crush people's dreams, because I think you should go for something that you're passionate about, for sure. But listen to the result, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Don't delude yourself. And like people around, it's the people around them sometimes as well.
Oh, that's key. You see an X Factor sometimes when they go up and you're like, why'd you let your friend or your family go up? Like, what
exactly,
are you doing?
Exactly. It's terrible. It's really bad. So, yeah.
So what's the youngest age of the person working for you?
Oh, at the moment, 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a younger generation coming up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you build that strength of character in them when, like you just said, society at the moment, it's getting a merit for every single thing. Mm-hmm. So how do you help them develop and grow and nurture that tenacity that you've got?
Gosh. Well, not everyone's going to have that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? To be honest. And I can't really explain why my self-belief is the way it is. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I really don't. It just is. And I can't expect everybody to have that either, But I think what I try to do is honesty, being tactful. And what else? I think, honesty, being tactful, because no one wants to hear negative things, to be honest, do you know what I mean? So I think you have to be mindful how you deliver those messages, because those are the ones that tend to be the most impactful and stay with people the longest. Mm. People tend to remember the negative words or the negative things that people say. And then also just being supportive and being consistent with that support as well, and just like as much as you can give you need to give positive feedback too, which is something I learned to do, to be honest, because being a Nigerian, it's not culturally our default, to be honest. Like, you get negative reinforcement to help to push you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we live in the Western world. I mean, brought up here, it's the opposite. So that's something I've had to I don't understand.
Switch it up a
do you know
little
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, kind of thing, and understand. But I actually think it's not one or the other. It's a balance of both. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I try and do.
I think that's I work with people from different generations. Obviously, a lot of times nowadays, millennials, Generation X, all coming into the workforce. And I say that's kind of the beauty of working with people who are younger than you.
Yeah.
They actually force you to grow and to learn new ways to be able to relate to them.
Yeah.
And it's a characteristic of good leaders. If you're adaptable, just like you said, you have to change the way your natural state is to make sure that those people get it right. Then you're a great leader. If you can't adapt and you're stuck in your ways, then you shouldn't be a leader trying to run stuff in the first place.
And there's so many people, like the thing is, I'm not a massive fan of people.
Okay. You work in events,
general,
right?
I do. I like people I like. But yeah, so it's very, what's the word? I find it very difficult sometimes. And I find myself having to, go and preserve my energy and all that kind of stuff. But I do agree with you. You have to, especially obviously with my staff team, I love them. But but you do have to be adaptable because everyone is different. Yeah.
And how would you, you talked about loneliness of entrepreneurs before.
Mm-hmm.
How would you what would you say was the best way to deal with that kind of loneliness? Because it's hard. The emotional capital you give out when you're trying to start a business, it's so hard on yourself personally. It's hard on people around you if you've got families and all that kind of stuff. And it's something that obviously leads to burnout. So obviously you've been going for a while and you've gone through that grind, going through multiple businesses to get to where you are right now. Yeah. How would you, or advice would you give around that loneliness?
You got to find your tribe, I think. You got to find people who not necessarily, because still to this day, I don't know anyone that's doing, as a Black British woman, like I don't know anyone that's doing what I'm doing. Right. Do you know what I mean? There's similar, like kind of thing, or maybe a bit here, but my staff team's quite small, but at one point I had like 12 members of staff. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know anyone that had or was doing that. Do you know what I mean? So, but you got to find people who are kind of like you in that sense. Doesn't have to be an exact match, but yeah, or maybe have a similar sort of mindset and just speak to them, I think. If you're lucky, and I'm really lucky because my brother is amazing and he's like a creative and entrepreneurial and a thinker and all that kind of stuff. So like yeah, I can talk to him about stuff. Although in the early days I didn't, because we've got a 7-year gap between us, so I didn't even that Nigerianness comes in. It's like, he's my little brother. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's he gonna know? These times now, he knows more than me. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I in terms of like. And he inspires me. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got his mastermind group and stuff and everything. And like, that is, it's just such a blessing that we're similar in that way. Do you know what I mean? So like, you got to find your that, basically. And I used to think I had that in like, I've had different business partners over the years, but it's not really worked out. And that, from each of those people, I did learn things, and do you know what I mean? And it did help to have your like Cody to kind of get through the tough times and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, the reality is that you are like the buck does stop with you, and that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if you're the majority shareholder, or like you're the only owner, like, like myself, then it does stop with you at the end of the day. So.
And how would you advise someone who's trying to start a business? What would be the best way to do it? Obviously, you're not a big fan of uni.
Not massive, not massively.
You went to uni yourself.
I did go to uni. I did. But I studied music and sound recording, so it's got nothing really to do with what I do.
Yeah.
I don't think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to go to uni. 100%. Like, no. I think you're probably better off watching Gary Vee videos, to be honest, than going to uni, to be honest.
Or doing an apprenticeship, for example.
Yeah.
That's a massive thing right now.
Yeah.
There's some great young people who are doing apprenticeships and they're not going to university. I want to get experience and learn on the ground so I can start doing what I want to do myself. So, yeah.
This is a thing. I think there's just so many transferable skills. A lot of the people who kind of, I don't know. Like, I think it's hard for me to judge, like, or take a thingy of it now because entrepreneurship is so seen as cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, back in the day, it really wasn't seen as cool. It was like,
what are you doing?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, you did it anyway.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm trying to say. It's at that point in time, it was very countercultural, but you were like, I want to do this and therefore I'm going to make it. So now that's even more popular and it's the in thing to do. Therefore, everyone's trying to do it. That means a lot of people aren't going to make it.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people are going down this like VC route and stuff. And it's like, I don't know.
You're not a fan?
Not really. I'm listening and I'm watching at the moment and seeing what's happening with people, and I kind of want to see it over a couple of years to see where it goes and stuff. But honestly, there's a bit of me that's just like, if you can't make the business run on its own without an injection, is it a business?
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean? That's
okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought, and actually, that's a very good one.
Because the thing, I am conflicted though, because there are some services or some business out there, like if they didn't have the injection, they wouldn't exist and they are beneficial. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot, and I feel like this is where a lot of Black businesses as well, kind of thing, they're kind of starting getting into that VC, and it's just like, yeah, I'm happy they do exist actually. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I am a bit conflicted, but I do think like this, it feels like a little bit of a bubble at the moment, and bubbles always burst. So, I just, I do wish people the best and stuff, but I hope they're being like careful and mindful and have an exit strategy as well, Yeah.
You said foundation building is very critical then, because if you're building a business on VC money, obviously if that goes away, something happens, then that might crumble. Yeah. Whereas if you've actually validated and you've actually got a good thing, regardless of whether you got backing it or not, you can obviously run with it, like you've done, for example. So, okay. Right. How would you, I guess what's the best way to put it, how would you say your business has affected your personal life?
How has my business affected my personal life?
As an entrepreneur, you're doing quite a lot. You've got a number of businesses you're doing. So is that helped? Is it hindered? Is it...
Depends who you talk to.
I talk to you. I want you to tell me.
Because if you talk to my older sister and stuff, she probably say it's a bad thing. But you know what? To be honest, I think the benefits. Okay. Let's start with the benefits. Is that you are very, very mindful of your time.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so you're not gonna. Well, for me personally, I wouldn't. I wouldn't kind of like just give my time to anyone. Like that's no. Because literally I don't have time for that. I just don't have time for that. Do you know what I mean?
You have to be at a level as well to recognize what you're trying to do or what you're doing.
I think so. I do think, and it's a bit of a stereotype though, but I do think with Black female entrepreneurs, I think we're seen as a bit intimidating and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think so.
What do you think that is?
Because because it's unusual, I think like people probably think like, what did how did you get there kind of thing? Like you have to be tough in order to get there. Like any entrepreneur, do you know what I mean? Or anyone, even in corporate world, if they're at the top of their game, do you know what I mean? The person in charge, like the sacrifice and do you know what I mean?
Putting the work to make it happen,
So you have to have a kind of mental toughness, and that can be intimidating for some people. Culturally, I think if I was to kind of, I don't know, man, I think I'm trying to be careful what I'm going to say, but like,
you know what? I'm intrigued.
If I was to go with the traditional expectations from my Nigerian side, then I don't know whether I would be in the position I'm in now, because the priority of marriage and a family and stuff is the expectation of a woman, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah,
yes, you should be. Yes, you should be educated. Go get your education, but now go and settle down. That's it, kind of thing. Whereas a man, the same expectation is just not there. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I think. Yeah, let me come back to that one. Let me see. Let me give it a couple more years and see what my stance is going to be. Yeah.
I could talk to you for ages on these topics, but I know we're coming to that wrap-up time. So there's 2 questions I want to ask you before we finish up.
Okay.
Number 1, what is the most important thing you have learned in your life? What were you like before you learned it? And what was life like after you learned it?
Jeez, there's deep questions today. What was the most important thing? Oh, you know what? That life is short.
Oof.
That life is very, very short. My dad passed away when I was 17. And myself and my sister, we tried to resuscitate him and he didn't come around. So, before that, I thought he was going to be around forever, So it was very... very, not to bring down the mood.
No, that's right.
But
it's life though, isn't it?
But yeah, it was a very, very traumatic time, and it's still, I think I still bear the scars of that today. Yeah. But like, it's just so short, and maybe that's part of my drive, because you just never know. You never know when that day is going to come, so you have to do it. And I've seen that at such a young age. It's just, it impacted me.
The last one, I would like a cheat code from you. So, cheat codes in games, are the things that you do to make yourself advance a lot quicker.
Okay.
So, what would your cheat code for life be for people who are starting businesses, who are currently in businesses? What would that one nugget that you advise them?
You're not going to like it.
Bring it on.
There are no cheat codes. There's none. I don't believe in them.
You don't believe in them?
I don't believe in them. No, I don't think, not in the... I think you have to... I do think you need to work smart, of course. But like, you can't... There's no shortcut through the grind. Like, you have to grind. You have to grind to get there. You just do... like I said, if someone can show me someone that's made it, that hasn't, inherited, or, do you know what I mean? And that sort of thing, or maybe even VC or whatever, like someone, show me them.
So how long would you say someone should keep on trying for if it's not successful?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say I won't put it into time, but as long as you can afford to,
okay.
I would say, I don't think it should be at the detriment of your mental health, or, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't eat and all that kind of stuff. Although sometimes.
There's Gary
sometimes,
at home.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I used to, I had to walk to locations, man. Do you know what I mean? Or it was 1 meal a day. But like, I just had to grab, but better know that my phone is on, I can do my emails. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing, so.
And that's that tenacity you were talking about, that I'm going to make this regardless. I'm willing to sacrifice the things that are not important to make sure that the key things are available, and I can use that to to keep on going and keep on functioning. It has been a pleasure
Thank you.
talking to you. There's so many topics we need to do. Like, we need to do another one on relationships, because that topic you hit me right at the end, I was like, oh, we could expand in this. But there's one thing I actually want to shout out to you. One of your businesses, your T-shirt.
Yes. Every day for a day.
I literally love the brand.
Thank you.
Plantain especially. That's the one. I saw that. I saw it spelled out properly. It was like, yes, all you people out there, plantain is right there.
It's true. Go check it out.
So where can people find you? People can find out about your businesses and everything that you do.
Right. So for Fresh Strawberry, it's freshstrawberry.co.uk. Everything's on there. You can contact us that way. For Everyday Friday, we're on all the socials. Everyday Friday. So it's like Friday, but an own sort of I. And then the ones we didn't talk about, Natural Style Story, is the hair one that we have. And that's on Insta. And I think those are the main ones at the moment. I feel like I'm forgetting something. But yeah, we'll stick with those.
Like I said, there's so many. I started going through the list. I was like, there's a lot. So
cool.
People, make sure you check out those businesses. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Sade.
Thank you.
You're going to come back for a part 2 relationship. If you're in a relationship, we'll need to delve into that.
Cool.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Everyday Leadership. Don't forget, I have show notes on my website, everydayleadership.buzzsprout.com, so check that out. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and tell someone else. Appreciate your support. I'll see you next time. This is Everyday Leadership.
What?